You are 3 hours into a trail that should have taken 2. The path has been narrowing for the last 40 minutes and the markers have become less frequent, and the light coming through the canopy overhead has gone from pale to gray to something that feels less like daylight and more like the forest simply tolerating your presence for now. You have your pack, you have water, you have a map that made complete sense at the trailhead and makes considerably less sense out here. You stop, because something is in front of you that should not be here, that cannot be here, that has no explanation that your brain can immediately produce for why it is standing in the middle of a forest with no path leading to it, no structure around it, no foundation beneath it, and no building above it. A staircase. Full size, solid, 15, maybe 20 steps rising from the forest floor to a landing that ends in open air. The wood is old, but it is not rotten. The structure is intact. Whatever built it to last. But there is nothing at the top. No door, no floor, no walls, no ruins of a house that might once have surrounded it. Just the staircase, standing alone in the trees, leading from the ground to nothing. You look around. There is no sign that anything was ever built here. No foundation stones, no broken timber, no cleared ground. Just forest on all sides and the staircase rising out of it like something that was always here. Every instinct you have tells you not to climb it. You are going to listen to those instincts because the rangers told you to. Because the rangers, when you signed in at the trailhead, mentioned the staircases specifically. Not with the tone of someone sharing a local curiosity, with the tone of someone delivering a warning they have delivered before, to people who did not always take it seriously enough. Whatever you do, they said, do not climb them. The phenomenon of staircases appearing in forests, deep in forests, far from any road or structure with no logical explanation for their presence, is one of the most quietly persistent and deeply unsettling legends in the outdoor and hiking community. It does not belong to a single location. It has been reported across forests in the United States, Canada, and parts of Northern Europe. It appears consistently enough across enough independent accounts from enough unconnected people that dismissing it entirely requires a degree of effort that starts to feel like its own kind of denial. The stories follow a pattern that is too consistent to be coincidence and too strange to be comfortably explained. A hiker finds a staircase standing alone in the woods with no surrounding structure. The staircase is in good condition, not freshly built, but maintained in a way that suggests it is not simply abandoned. There are no human tracks leading to it. Sometimes there are no animal tracks around it either. The forest around the staircase feels different from the forest on either side. Quieter, stiller, as if the space immediately surrounding the structure is operating under a slightly different set of rules than the rest of the woods. Some hikers report feeling nothing unusual near the staircases except the visual wrongness of the object itself. Others report something harder to quantify, a sense of being observed, a drop in temperature that has no meteorological explanation, a feeling of pressure behind the eyes, a sudden and overwhelming certainty that they should leave immediately and that they should not look back as they do. The rangers know about them. This is the detail that separates the staircase legend from ordinary unexplained phenomena and pushes it into something more deliberately disturbing. In every version of this story, the rangers are aware. They have seen the staircases. They know where some of them are. And they have a policy, unofficial, unwritten, never explained in any document or training manual, that the staircases are not to be climbed, not investigated, not photographed if it can be avoided, simply noted, filed, and left alone. The question of why the rangers warn against climbing them has never been officially answered. When hikers press for an explanation, they receive variations of the same non-answer. It is a safety issue. Unstable structures in remote locations, liability concerns, the kind of language that is designed to close a conversation rather than answer it. But the rangers who have been in the forests long enough, who have been out there on enough overnight patrols, who have seen enough of what the deep woods produce at the edge of their flashlight beams at 3 in the morning, those rangers do not talk about liability. They just say, do not climb them. And the way they say it carries a weight that the official explanation does not. The accounts of people who have climbed them anyway are where the legend goes from unsettling to something darker. Most who climb them report nothing. They reach the top, stand on the landing, look out over the forest canopy, feel the strange vertigo of standing at height with nothing solid around them, and come back down. Nothing happens. The forest is the same forest it was when they started. They walk back to the trail and continue their hike and tell the story later as a curiosity rather than a warning. But some accounts are different. There are hikers who climbed a forest staircase and reached the top and reported that the view from the landing did not match the forest they had walked through to reach it, that the trees visible from the top were not the trees that had surrounded them at the bottom, that the light was wrong, too bright or too dark or the wrong color for the time of day, that when they came back down the trail they had arrived on was gone, and the forest around the staircase was arranged differently than it had been before they climbed, and it took them hours to find a path back to anywhere they recognized. One account describes a hiker who climbed a staircase in a Washington state forest and reached the top and heard from somewhere above the landing, above the open air, above the empty space where a ceiling should not have been, the sound of a door closing. There was no door. There was nothing above the landing, but the sound was there, clear, mechanical, the specific sound of a latch catching in a frame, a door closing from the inside of a room that did not exist in any space that the hiker could access or see or understand. They came back down. They left. They have not returned to that forest. The theories about what the staircases are range from the mundane to the genuinely unnerving. The mundane explanations suggest they are remnants of demolished structures, old cabins or hunting lodges whose walls and foundations have been removed or have decayed completely, while the staircase, built more solidly than the rest, has survived. This explanation accounts for some cases. It does not account for the absence of any foundation, any cleared ground, any debris, any historical record of a structure in those locations. Other theories go further. Some researchers in the paranormal community have suggested the staircases are threshold objects, structures that exist at points where the boundary between this world and something adjacent to it is thin enough that a physical marker has formed around the gap. That the staircases lead somewhere, just not somewhere that is accessible from the bottom. That what they lead to can only be reached from the top, from the landing, from the open air that is not as open as it appears to the person standing in the forest looking up at it. That the rangers know this. That the warning is not about safety in the conventional sense. That it is about the specific danger of reaching the top of a staircase in a forest and finding that the door above the landing, the door that has no frame, no wall, no visible existence, is open, and stepping through it, and discovering that the sound of it closing behind you is the last thing you hear that belongs to the world you came from. Nobody knows who builds them. Nobody knows how long they have been there. Nobody knows what is at the top for the people who go through and do not come back. But the rangers know they are there, and they are telling you clearly not to climb. So if you are ever 3 hours into a trail that should have taken 2, and the path has narrowed and the light has gone gray, and you come to a clearing where something is standing that has no right to be standing there, stop. Look at it. And remember what the ranger told you at the trailhead. Then turn around and do not look back up at the landing as you walk away. Because some accounts suggest that looking back is what opens the door. And once it is open, it does not close until something comes through. If this one followed you home, hit subscribe, because we go deep into the legends, the forests, and the structures that should not exist, but do. Drop a comment and tell us which story you want us to go into next. Until then, stay on the trail.